Okay, we're just gonna give folks a few seconds to join us, and then we'll get started with today's session. Okay, folks are going to continue to join us, but we're gonna get started. So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we're going to learn how to cut through the AI hype and discover how tools like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini can drive real results in your business. This session will demonstrate how to leverage AI to win more sales, improve marketing effectiveness, and streamline operations. Leading us in the discussion today is Scott Wilson. He's the CEO of Geek Certified and an AI consultant and instructor at McMaster University's DeGroote School of Business. In addition to teaching, Scott builds complex custom AI tools for businesses, a combination that allows him to bring real-world relevant and up-to-date information directly into his training programs, lectures, and workshops. So we're in for a very interesting discussion this afternoon. The format for our session will be as follows. You can submit your questions throughout the presentation through the chat function at the bottom of your screen. We'll address all of the questions at the end of the presentation. All right, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to you, Scott.
Thank you, Dolores. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Scott Wilson, and I do a lot of work with McMaster University, teach micro-credential courses. I'm part of their digital labs. And what I like to do is help businesses understand and get the benefit from AI. The reason I feel this is important is because AI can be extremely efficient and improve productivity for a business to an extent that the world has never seen. In 1999, I started to get excited about the internet because I just found it was so efficient. What I was seeing was basically an opportunity for humans and for businesses to increase their efficiency. And so I really got excited about it. And I was an early adapter on Google, building websites. I was doing Google Ads, pretty much from when it was invented. And it was all because of the efficiency. Before the internet took off and before Google and other search engines like the early days of InfoSeek, Ask Jeeves, Lycos, Yahoo, when people needed to look something up, they would, for business, they'd go to the yellow pages and they would flip through the yellow pages and try to find a potential vendor. People might cut a coupon out of a newspaper and put it on their fridge with a magnet. If you needed eyeglasses in the next little while and there was a sale, you might cut that coupon out. And this is just simply how we did business. If somebody was curious about something, they had to stay curious until they could get to the library. And students in school, our library day was on Friday mornings. So if we were curious about something on Saturday or Sunday, we had to stay curious and remember what it was all the way till Friday morning. And then we had to go and open the drawers and go through the Dewey Decimal System and then walk along the rows of books and find your book on the shelf and then flip it open and go through the table of contents, all this to seek the information. And so with the internet, essentially information and knowledge was available at our fingertips. And there's been studies, the IQ of humanity across planet Earth has increased since we've had widespread usage of access to information, immediate access to information. And so at the turn, in 1999 through the early 2000s, our world changed significantly because of the access to information and the efficiency of the internet. So now we've got this new thing called AI, and people are starting to play with it and get excited, and some companies are implementing it. Well, this is so much more. It's exponentially more impactful than what we experienced in 1999 through the early 2000s. This is a big game changer for businesses, and I really believe that businesses that implement AI will thrive and grow, and businesses that don't are going to be in trouble. Your market share is going to be taken over by businesses that are early adapters of artificial intelligence systems within their workflow. And the companies that don't do it, you're in trouble. And that's just the reality. It's the way I see it. This is the biggest disruptive innovation our planet's ever seen. So we have to get on board. And sometimes when I go to a company or a factory and I start building AI tools, I've heard people say, "Oh, so you're the guy that's going to cause my job to be replaced." And I can say with 100% honesty, at least in the next few years, that absolutely not. I'm the person that is going to protect your job. I'm the reason your company is going to thrive and prosper. And a company that's thriving and prospering, those employees are better off. They're going to have better pay. They're going to have better insurance packages. They're going to, simply have a better employment. Successful companies are able and empowered to treat their employees better than companies that are struggling to get by. It's just a financial reality. And I think a lot of bosses and a lot of ownership would like to keep employees and have happy employees and offer them as much as they can. But if you're struggling financially, it's just not available. And so really AI is gonna create opportunities for growth. Nobody so far has hired me to come in and say, "Hey, Scott, I want you to replace 20% of my work for us with AI as fast as you can so I can fire 20 people and be more profitable." And nobody who's hired me has said anything like that. When I get hired, people are like, "Okay, how do I grow significantly and exponentially potentially without having to exponentially grow my staff?" And so that's about prosperity and growth. It's not about replacing staff. It's about growing significantly with a small increase in staff. So the companies that are implementing AI, I feel the employees are protected. So I'm going to then turn on my marketing hat because I started my career around 1999 in web work, in video production, and in marketing. So let me just do a screen share here. I used to just Google a wagon wheel and um, uh, and then basically explain this verbally. But thanks to AI, this was actually created between Google, Gemini, and myself. This wagon wheel represents what most companies' internet footprint looks like. And so when I say internet footprint, we all have a website, and some of us are using social media. We might have LinkedIn, maybe a Facebook business page, Google My Business. Some businesses have discovered the power of video, so they may have a YouTube channel. Some people are still optimizing on Bing, which is a good idea. Instagram, Twitter, now called X, and so forth. But there's really no organization to this mess. When a company hires me to help them with their marketing, I come in and everything's pointed everywhere. And it's just an absolute disaster. There's people that are doing good work within these channels. The YouTube channel may be successful, but how's it supporting the overall business goal of acquiring new customers? And the LinkedIn might be good for the individual. There's a lot of pieces that are built well. It's just that it's a spaghetti mess of what's happening. So this next slide, what's going on here? There we go. This next slide here is essentially what, in my opinion, is a good internet marketing strategy and a good SEO strategy. What happens is everything points back to your website. And when I say your website, I absolutely do not mean your homepage. Everything points back to your website. So, for example, if you're selling products, let's say that you sell appliances. If somebody's looking for a stainless steel gas stove, they don't want to land on your homepage. They don't want to land on an electric stove page. They don't want to land on a dishwasher or a washing machine or a dryer page. They want to land on the selection of stainless steel stoves. So that means that they're going deep within your site. So if you have a supporting social media that talks about, the efficiency and the benefits of gas, nobody wants to land on a page, if they're looking for a gas stainless steel stove, they don't want to land on a page that sells them something else or land on the home page and have to renavigate. So when I say everything points to your website, it's your website, not necessarily your home page. And it should be pointing to the page that is selling the product or the service, the B2B, the B2C. It should land on the page that's talking about what the person was reading about on the social media account. So, for example, if it's a dentist and they offer teeth whitening, then somebody shouldn't be pointed to the home page and they shouldn't be pointed to a braces page. They should be pointed to the different options of teeth whitening that dentist offers. Everything should be pointed and organized and basically coming home. And so, how does AI help with all this? And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slip out of this presentation and I'm going to actually go into AI. Let me open up a new chat. And so essentially with Claude or with ChatGPT, we can essentially, look, basically ask for help with our digital marketing. And so we can basically have a prompt, and this prompt can help us with our internet marketing and with our SEO. And so I'm actually going to turn to the audience. I like to do things live and keep it real. Dolores, can you ask the audience if somebody wants to volunteer their business's website so I can actually use a real example that's actually relevant to somebody in the audience right now? And then can you provide me with that URL, please?
Okay, so if somebody would like to do that, just put it in the chat. Okay, let's see. www.b4networks.ca. Scott, you can see it in the chat as well.
Okay, I've just highlighted it. So let's start by basically going in here and let's take a look at the site. Okay, let me just move that out of the way. Just going to minimize that. Okay, so it's an IT service company. This is excellent. I'm just using a tool called Moz. Moz is, in my opinion, the best SEO tool in the world, and they've got a whole AI component. It is a paid service, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's a tool worth exploring if you're serious about internet marketing. So we've got this website here. We've got a domain authority at 20 out of 100, which is really strong. We've got a spam score of 1%, which is fantastic. You don't ever want to get into double digits. Page authority is 32 out of 100. This is, again, good. It means that the content on the page is pretty strong. And so essentially, I just like to look at some of these metrics. But there's one thing that's issuous here. Moz is detecting one keyword. Let's see what it is. Okay. Okay, so the ranking keyword is a number, which is probably the first part of the phone number. It doesn't really make much sense. So I would say basically there's been no SEO, no optimization done on this site because essentially it's not focused on keywords. So this is basically IT services and so forth. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this URL and I'm going to basically pop it into Claude and I'm going to say, please. I should learn how to spell. Okay, so what I said is please take a look at this website in the industry, provide me with a list of two competitors, provide me with a synopsis of the marketing opportunities that could be utilized online. And now I basically put in the website. So let's take a look at that and we'll see how Claude performs. So essentially, it's basically right now reaching out to the site through the internet. It's going to basically do a little bit of uh, some groundwork on the website and on the industry. And essentially, while it's doing this, I'm going to start typing my next reply, which I won't be able to submit until it's finished its work. But what I want to do is I want to do some keyword research. Okay, so right now, basically, what it's done is it's got a competitive and marketing opportunity snapshot. It's got a business overview. B4 Networks is a managed service provider headquartered in Niagara region with second office in Barrie, servicing small to medium businesses across Southern Ontario. So it's basically got some information on you. It found a couple of rivals. It found some online marketing like local SEO, vertical specific hubs, competitor pay per click. So it's got, it's basically got some information here that I feel is relevant, and I like to do a little bit of groundwork. So now what I'm going to do is I'd like you to perform keyword research. Please provide a list of core keywords, short, middle, and long tail keywords, and latent semantically related keywords. User knowledge of the industry, website, and okay, so now I said I'd like you to perform keyword research, blah 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 blah, and then use your knowledge of the industry, the website, and two rivals websites, and any other keyword research tool you have access to. So we'll submit that. And while it's doing this, I'm going to talk a little bit about latent semantic relationship. So basically, it's kind of an interesting subject. In the early days of the internet, before Google was even out, when it was Ask Jeeves, Lycos, InfoSeek, there wasn't enough websites in the world to populate 10 results, and all the search engines felt like, oh, each page should have 10 results. And so, for example, in the hotel industry, hotels were really slow to build websites. They were like one of the last industries to realize they should have a website. And so if you, in the early 2000s, if you Googled hotel, there wasn't 10 results if you were in a small town. Like I grew up in Burlington, even a town like, Niagara, St. Catharines. In those days, there wasn't, 10 results for a hotel. And the funny thing is, Bell Media actually was going to open up a search engine, and they filed a patent on latent semantic relationship of language. And that was going to be their secret sauce for their search engine. And the idea was that it would backfill results so that you could get 10 results for any industry that didn't have 10. So, for example, latent semantically related keywords to hotel were things like motel, inn, lodging, accommodations, and that was back in the early 2000s. Now you would add like VRBO and Airbnb to the mix. And so what happened is that Bell, by the time Bell was testing these algorithms in order to backfill the results, because there wasn't enough hotels with websites in even mid-sized towns to populate 10 results. What happened is the internet started to take off, and it grew so much that there was not only more than 10 results, there was sometimes hundreds or thousands of results in the mix. And so, basically Bell kind of threw in the towel and decided they weren't going to focus on building a search engine. They put their energies into other areas. And so they basically gave up on that dream. And The funny thing was, is Google took up some patents years later on latent semantic relationship of language. And so what Google was doing was Google basically was trying to test if they could have an algorithm measure the quality of writing and rank it as, is it good writing? Is it okay? Is it mediocre? Is it weak? Is it bad writing? And so they filed all these patents because what they did is they created some studies where they were trying to find, humans would rank and rate. Humans would rank and rate the quality of the writing as this is superb, amazing writing. This is good. This is okay. This is mediocre. This is bad. And then Google basically was trying to find, correlations and things that were consistent with writing that humans reviewed to be well written and great quality of content. And what Google came up with was that humans found that content that had a plethora of latent semantically related language, humans deemed that language um, to be well written content. So then Google filed a bunch of patents on latent semantics within content. And the purpose was to add another factor to their algorithms that would measure the quality of the written content. And so that any content that had a plethora of latent semantic language was deemed to be well written. And so latent semantics, for the hotel industry could be accommodation and inn and lodging and so forth. In sports, like for example, in hockey, it could be Edmonton Oilers or Buffalo Sabres. It could be, Connor McDavid and so forth. It could be names of coaches, names of teams, it could be Gary Bettman, who's the commissioner of the NHL. So all of these, names, team names, even things like hockey puck, hockey stick, these are all latent semantically related to the sport of hockey and in the NHL. And so latent semantics isn't just like, hotel, motel, lodging, and inn. It can be more complex than that. So what happened is Google filed these patents. So I had a company years ago called Rank Higher. It was one of the largest search companies in Canada, and we were, I think, the second company in Canada to be a Google Premier partner. So I had the chance to go to the Googleplex, the Toronto one, probably 30, 40 times. We went to I was invited and Google paid my trip to go to Mountain View, California for a week for the Google partner event. So I got to spend a week at the Googleplex, and I also used to be one of the keynote speakers for Profit magazine when Profit used to do these events called the Profit 500, which was the 500 fastest growing companies in Canada. They did the Profit 100, Profit 200, they did the Profit Women's, and then for startups they had the Profit Hot 50. So I was keynote speaker for all these events. So because of my relationship with Google, being a Google Premier partner on the Google Ads side, and because I was keynote speaker for these huge events put on by Profit Magazine, which was owned by Rogers, Google would send senior people. And I remember they sent this guy, John Black. And so John Black was a VP at Google, and they had a lot of VPs, but they sent him out to do a roundtable after my keynote speech. And in that speech, I presented a way to find the latent semantics. I actually presented Google's patent. I talked about this is a huge advantage. It was a new factor of their algorithm. And then I talked about how you could find it. And what you used to do in the search, which is you would put in a tilde. You would go like hotel. You would go basically a tilde, which is like a synonym, followed by the root word, which would be hotel space minus hotels. And so what I said is, listen, Google, I want to find, the best web page in the world related to hotel, but the word hotel and hotels is not allowed to be anywhere in the content or on the page. So then it came back with lodging. So then I go space minus lodging, lodgings, and then it would come up with, things like inn. I go space minus inn or inns. And then, it would come up with, motel and accommodation. And so you just would create this search query that was longer and longer with these subtraction formulas in it to find the next latent semantic related language. So when I presented that, that was on the weekend. On Monday, that functionality was vanished from Google. They just it took it away. A month later, there was an article in Search Engine Land. Other people had discovered this Tilde opportunity and realized that latent semantics was good. So then I found another way to get latent semantics in a public Google Sheet. If you basically had one word and a second word that you guessed was latent semantically related, and if you held down the shift and you pulled this Google Sheet on a 45-degree angle, it would actually backfill it with words that were latent semantically related. And I remember I presented that in a live webinar with Mike Blumenthal, who's a world guru expert. He's from Oleans, New York, and we were in like a big podcast, and we presented that to the audience as a way to find latent semantic relationship. And then that functionality disappeared from Google Sheets. And so for years and years, I couldn't get reasonable and realistic list of latent semantically related language. So then when ChatGPT came out, it was based on all Bing's data set. And so I just simply asked it, is there latent semantically, can you give me latent semantically related language? And so what it did, it was not a Google product, and so essentially it was able to give me all the latent semantically related words that were related to the core keywords. And so then I basically solved the problem, and I was actually able to add true latent semantically related language back to my marketing campaign, as opposed to having to guess, because Google took away all those tools. So one of the things is when you're doing keyword research, if you look at my prompt here, I recommend you ask for core keywords and then short tail keywords, mid tail, long tail keywords, and then ask for latent semantically related. Then when you go to write the content, what you would do is you would write content that would include a plethora of these keywords, including latent semantically related language. So one of the things I could do now, and here's another thing, is I feel like people don't quite realize that having a plethora of content is not going to detract from customers. If your call to action is above the fold and you've got all your key points there, but the page is long and it's got 2,000 words of content, nobody's going to go, oh, well, you got a lot of words there, so I'm not going to do business with you. But the reality is that content will bring you more traffic. And so I'm going to give you a quick example of that right now, because one of the things I recommend is that your web pages should be like 2,000 words of content. So I'm just going to do a couple of searches. Right now, I'm going to search for Salesforce. I'm going to go Salesforce. So let's look at Salesforce stock price. So Salesforce's stock is 189 bucks a share. Their market cap is 154 billion US dollars. So this is a 154 billion dollar company. And what they sell is CRM, which is customer relationship management software. Okay. So now I'm going to do a search for CRM. And we've got a bunch of paid results. Okay. And then we've got our new AI overview, which is important. And Salesforce comes up number one in the AI overview. So Salesforce ranks in AI for CRM, and Salesforce is number one in the world organically for CRM. Okay. These guys have been doing perfect SEO. I've been following them for 2 decades because these guys have taken SEO seriously from the day they opened their business, and they're awesome at SEO. So I actually follow them just so I could understand what they're doing, because they are cutting edge SEO. And now AEO, which is answer engine optimization. Some people call it GEO, which is generative engine optimization. But basically ranking on AI is important. That's very important for businesses. Right now, it only represents like 1% of the traffic or less. So people are like, well, why would I bother? There's a shift. Like, more and more people are using artificial intelligence like Claude and ChatGPT and Grok and Google Gemini to find results. And so we need to pay attention to that. So let's look at this content. I'm going to go Control F and I'm going to go CRM. And so the word CRM is on this page 75 times. I'm going to go Control A and Control Copy. So I'm going to copy this content. Now, before I paste it, I'm just going to show you. Let me just minimize that. So what we've got here is we got a page that's well laid out. You can get started. There's calls to action throughout the page. There's customer testimonials. It talks about cost savings. It talks about AI agents. They've integrated AI into their whole that you can go for a demo. Like I said, calls to action throughout the pages, stats about your increase, your revenues. on and on it goes, and it just keeps going and it going and going, and you can't really get far. Now I can download a guide. There's action steps all through this page. So what I'm going to do right now real quick is I'm just going to go into here and I'm going to open up a Google Doc, okay? And I'm going to basically paste this in. So now I've pasted this content in here. This is all the content on that page, and I'm going to go view, sorry, I'm going to go where's it? Tools, word count. Okay. So this page has 2,500 words of content. Okay, 2,500 words of content. That's a lot of content. Okay, so now let's go back into Claude, and I'm basically going to say I would like to improve my homepage content. Please create layout for 5 sections content that will be 500 words per section. Okay, so we want basically 500 words per section, and be sure to plethora of all. Okay, so in this case, I'd like to improve my homepage content. Please create a layout for 5 sections of content that will be 500 words per section. Be sure to include a plethora of all types of keywords with a focus on mid-tail and long-tail and latent semantically related keywords. Now, the reason that I'm asking for mid-tail and long-tail is because if we go back to this website here, sorry, where was it? This website here, if you recall, I ran a Moz scan on it, and the domain authority is 20. And so 20 out of 100, I suspect a lot of their rivals has got a higher domain authority. So winning like a keyword like IT services is going to be very, very difficult with a domain authority. Like 20 is a respectable domain authority, but it's going to be tough against some bigger IT firms to win a keyword like that. And a win for me is like above the fold on a Google search. So essentially, what I have to do here then is settle for mid-tail, long-tail, and latent semantically related keywords. But that's okay, because the more specific the keyword, the farther someone is down a sales cycle, and we're going to land some business. So then I go like that. I basically submit it, and it'll break it into 5 sections. And then what I'll do is I'll have it write one section at a time. I find you get better results when instead of asking it to write 2,500 words at once, you break it down into 5 sections of 500 words. And at the end of this exercise, we'll have a 2,500 word homepage content for this website that will boost the SEO. It still needs to be human reviewed, but it's going to have a plethora of keywords that can actually rank and bring traffic in for this business. So this is basically one of the first things I would do if I was working with a customer is I would actually do this not just on their homepage, but I'd do it on every page of their website. And then I'd do a gap analysis. I would have the AI do gap analysis to see what pages, what services the rivals are offering that they're missing. And then I would start creating 2,500 word pages for all the gaps that they're missing, that their rivals might have covered. And so at the end of the exercise, you're probably going to end up with a 100-page long website, and every page is 2,500 words. And essentially, you're going to own the internet and own the market share in the Niagara region and Barrie. For the business, you'll be basically signing up IT contracts all over the place. So this is how powerful AI is, because essentially, this whole exercise it takes you maybe once you get on a roll, you're probably like 15 minutes per page at the most. And then you still need a human to read it because there's goofy things that get in there. And in data science, we call that noise. So I'm just going to stop sharing. Sorry, the owner of this company, B4 Networks, I'll give you all the results. I'll finish the exercise of 5 for you, and I'll give it to you at the end of this session. So you'll actually get something useful out of this. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is a rite of passage. And when people first start using ChatGPT, just like when they first started using Google, your queries were short. Like when people use Google, they would search for like, one or two keywords, and then as they got more into it, they might search for sentences or two sentences. When people started with ChatGPT, the queries were short, and so at the end of the day, um, people have gone through a rite of passage, and now people are having longer queries, and the queries are getting longer and longer and more complex, which gives us better answers. So I lecture at McMaster University. I've been lecturing there about 18, 19 years, and I do the year 3 business class, year 4 business class, the MBA class, and I also do a little bit of private lessons with the PhD candidates in data science. So I was lecturing the MBA class this past semester, and I asked people to go back in their ChatGPT history and tell me how long their first prompts were, and some of them were like a few words or a sentence. And then I was asking the students, what's your longest prompt? So now they went to future prompts, and some of them had prompts that were lengthy, like 50 words, 100 words. The student that had the longest prompt was 300 words, just 300 and change. And so I asked everybody in the class, well, why are your prompts getting longer? And everybody seemed to have a good answer. Well, my prompts are getting longer because these longer, more complex prompts are giving us better answers. So then my next question was, okay, well, why'd you stop? And nobody could really answer that. So I'm going to share here. I'm going to share something. Let me go share again. Let me just quickly go into my drive. Okay. So is this is an advanced 5,000 word prompt. Now it has to be broken into sections in order for it to be successful because ChatGPT or Claude can't quite handle this many words in a single prompt. But what happens is each prompt builds on the other. And so what this is a foundation for an agent I later built called Groundwork. And so this prompt is pretty advanced. It's actually got some code in it. So it's not just a prompt like a simple prompt. It's doing pretty deep research on a company's website, the rivals, and so forth. But at the end of this whole prompt, what you have is you have an interaction with a GPT and a package that's actually ready to get started. And so that there's a 5,000 word prompt. Now, in order for a 5,000 word prompt to effectively work within ChatGPT, essentially what you need is you need a custom GPT. So that custom GPT, I connected through an API, and I connected it through the API into a Google Doc. And this basically helped deal with memory loss within the GPT. And so essentially, these are all GPTs, custom GPTs that I've built for clients. And then I've also got these shells, and these shells are just an empty shell that's connected to a custom GPT. And so these are actually all live documents. And so in each document, I've got an instruction set. And within this instruction set, essentially it interacts with the custom GPT. So the custom GPT runs into the instruction set. The instruction set goes back. And so essentially there's this back and forth exercise. I use AI for everything. I was struggling to hire a bookkeeper, so I did a bunch of research. I figured out what I needed, and I created a custom GPT that would go through all the Indeed results, and it would actually sort all these bookkeepers and give them a score out of 100, and let me know what the strengths and weaknesses were. How they filled all the different things that we were looking for in a bookkeeper and so forth. So these are the kind of things that I've built. And the idea is that basically we've got this set of instructions that's interacting with the GPT. The GPT bounces back and forth between the customer's queries and your instruction set in order to basically get better results. And so this was basically last year's AI workflow. This year's AI workflow is a little different. I'm going to actually go back to my chamber slide. How we are for time. I'm going to try to wrap this in 5 minutes. Anyways, basically these slides, essentially AI research agents. So here's where AI is today. What we've got is we've got an AI where we have, instead of it being back end, we've got a combination of back end and front end. And so a while ago, about a year and change ago, a friend of mine said, "Oh, I just bought an AI computer." And I thought he was nuts. I'm like, "Why are you wasting money?" He's like, "You spent all this money. It's similar to a gaming system. It's pretty powerful." I'm like, everything on AIs is back end. And what back end means is that the AI data centers that all this money and electricity is going into, it does all the processing and it gives you the results. So you can do AI from an old, cheap, crappy computer. You can do it from a mobile device and still get great results because it's all back end. It's done in the data center. These AI data centers that are hugely powerful. So I was like, why'd you waste your money? Well, AI's changed. So now what's happening is AI is actually happening on computers. It's a blended approach. Some of the processing's on a computer. So I've basically got Chat AI. This is Chat AI desktop. So it's on the desktop. And essentially, I'm going to just go into my folders. Let me go Scott personal. Where is it? So let me switch personal. I wonder where it would be. Is it under documents? Just a minute. Let me just find this. Let me go into here. Let's go into here. Sorry, users, Scott, Claude, agents. Okay. So essentially, what I've got here is I've actually got my agents and all their instruction set is actually on this computer. And basically, the agent instruction set is working with the ChatGPT desktop. And what I've built is I've built a system. Let me go back into this slide where actually agents are talking to other agents. So what I did is I took 10 kind of older computers that still worked. And, some of them, like I travel and I do keynote speeches all over the place. And, one of my computers was still good, but the hinge broke, right? But it's otherwise a good computer. Well, I'm a little nervous. I don't want to be traveling around with a computer with a broken hinge. It makes it look bad. And, if something broke further when I'm about to do a presentation, that would suck for me. So at the end of the day, I need a good computer. So this is still a good computer. It's just I retired it. So what we did is we built 10 computers. Each computer has between 30 and 40 agents. They're all networked. I now hired a guy. His name's Michael. He works in my Mississauga office, and he's got a rolling chair. He rolls from computer to computer, and essentially he's interacting. So across these 10 computers, there's between 300 and 400 agents. All the agents talk to each other. They can actually hand stuff off. So one research agent will do, it's their laser beam focused on that particular task. They hand their results to the next agent who does their work and so on and so on. We've got a Google Ads agent that knows everything about running Google Ads, and through APIs, they can deploy these ads without it even going through a human. We've got a Facebook agent that knows everything about Facebook ads, creating and deploying it. Again, through an API connection, all of that is automated. We've got a LinkedIn agent where I basically talked to and interviewed some of the best LinkedIn marketing people in the world. We build an agent to think like them. It knows all of the LinkedIn rules and the character counts. And so that agent creates LinkedIn. And so essentially, that's where AI is now, where you've got all these computers where some of it's front end, meaning the computer does some of the work, some of it's back end, meaning that the AI data center does some of the work. And then essentially they're all talking to each other. These agents talk to each other. They hand files off to each other. And then when it gets to the end zone, they can actually deploy it across social media. They can actually buy ads on Google or Bing, and all of this is automated. And this isn't the future. This is what I've built and I'm doing now for my company. We basically run our clients through this workflow in order to come up with this. So this isn't the future. This is the past. This is what we're doing at this moment in time. Is basically having these agents talk to agents and they do the work. So you might be wondering, well, why then do you have this guy who's on a chair with wheels, interacting and looking at the agent's output and talking to the agents and making sure it's good? Well, the reason we have this guy, Michael, is because of something called noise. And essentially, if noise get mixed into your data, and that happens, upstream, then essentially that has a ripple effect downstream all the way to the final delivery. And so we need humans to catch that. So let me give you an example of what that looks like. Okay. Let's say you have a company that manufactures aluminum windows. And these are really high-end windows and they're energy efficient and they make them for high-end homes, but they also make them for office buildings and they sell to builders who are building offices. And they also have a security component. There's two options. One of the options is you've got this wire mesh that gets put between the glass so that if somebody smashes it, basically, it doesn't break and they can't get in. The other option is a 3M product where there's this 3M film that's like it's almost bulletproof and it goes between the glass. So because some people don't like to look at that grid paper wire mesh between their glass. So they use the 3M film, which is another security feature. So now let's take a step back. So let's say we're doing some data mining for this client who basically manufactures and sells energy efficient aluminum windows. But they have windows and they're selling it to offices and they have a security feature. So now you've got Windows, Office, we have security. The problem is AI just can't help itself. In the data mining and the pulling of this information, it's going to have some Microsoft products mixed in with your energy efficient aluminum windows. It just happens. And in that data, we've got it's noise. We got some noise within the data. We've got some erroneous data. And essentially, although AI is improving, and if you train AI on that specific thing, then AI can basically look out for it and basically create a negative keyword list and basically omit anything to do with Microsoft products or Microsoft Windows. But until a human discovers that mistake and you overtrain and better train the AI will do that. And that's an obvious example that everyone here can relate to. But in all walks of businesses, there are situations where the AI will data mine something that's wrong. And if it gets into the upstream workflow, it'll go all the way to the end. And then you would have to if you catch it at the end, you'd have to redeploy each and every aspect of your workflow in order to fix it. So that's why we still have humans interacting with the AI agents. But think about it. What we now have is we have one human managing 300 to 400 AI employees that work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so, this empowers you to create like a whole year's worth of social media, digital footprint, web content, and you can basically do it in a week. And then you can basically schedule it all. Once it's approved, you can schedule it all to be deployed on an automated basis over the course of the next calendar year. And like I said, this is not the future. This is the past. This is what we've already built. I've got 12 more minutes, and I know people are going to have questions, so I'm going to stop sharing. And Dolores, can we see some people's faces now so I can like say hi and see who I'm talking to? And let's
We
open up the floor to actual questions.
Okay, we can't see their faces because we are in
Okay.
webinar format, but folks can certainly put their questions in the chat. I know we had someone raising their hand, so whoever you were, just submit your question in the chat and we'll get to it. We'll give folks a few minutes to do that. In the meantime, I don't understand half of the stuff that you just talked about, but I know that it's important. And I know that one of the things that I keep thinking about is, how this is going to change the landscape for the workplace. So you've got, all of these agents, and you've got one Michael. The rest of your agents are all AI agents. And so, what do you see coming? Like we hear a lot of commentary on how, 10 years from now, AI will be able to do every job that a human does. So what does that mean for our human capital?
That's a very good question. Um, so I mean, AI is what it's going to be able to do is it's actually unfathomable. Elon Musk, along with other thought leaders of the world, have actually recently said that AI could be months away from being the smartest. And they wanted to clarify being the smartest means to them that it could be months away from being smarter than every human being on Earth combined. Not just smarter than the smartest human, but we could be months away from AI being smarter than every human being combined. Now, the next thing is that quantum computing is actually starting to work, and it's going to come in stages. Right now, there actually is functioning quantum computers that are working. But when quantum processing power reaches its full extent, which we are a handful of years away, one quantum computer equals the processing power of every computer on 10 billion Earths combined. So one quantum computer equals 10 billion Earths of every computer that's functioning right now on Earth times 10 billion of us, and one quantum computer can do that when it's fully reached its peak. And again, we're years away from that. But now, right now, AI is off and it's learning on its own. Like it's learning every day. It's assimilating information. Every interaction it has with people, it's learning and it's learning. What happens then when you put AI into a quantum computer, and that quantum computer is more powerful than every computer on 10 billion Earths combined? And so it's like it's really mind-boggling and unfathomable to try to predict what's going to happen. So I don't want to predict what's going to happen in a bunch of years. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help people now, because we could, like, our heads could spin and we could just get stuck in a rut
Mm.
and scared of AI, or worried, or just it could actually almost become depressing, and I don't want that to happen. So here's what I know for sure. I know that people who embrace AI will be more productive and more successful in the next few years. I know that businesses that embrace AI will be hugely more successful in the next few years. I've been doing business a long time. I've been working with a lot of different companies, and I know something. Companies that are super successful, they have better coffee. They have like stuff in the lunchroom. They have a nicer building. They have bigger offices. The employees, in the parking lot, they seem to drive better cars. They seem to dress differently. At the end of the day, it's like some businesses ooze success. And everybody that's associated with that business seems to have a better lifestyle. And I've been in some businesses where I'm trying to help them bridge that gap, and they're just struggling to get by, and they're trying to say, how do we be more successful? In those businesses that are making a profit, they still love their employees and they're trying their best to do best by them, but it's not the same. So I feel like the AI embracers over the next few years are going to have employees who are, their jobs are secure, they're going to have better pay, they're going to have a better company and a better environment. It's going to be better human resources because there is resources to work with. In a company that's struggling to get by, those companies don't have any money to spend on any of that stuff. They're just trying to make it through the next payroll. And so I feel that let's just put our heads down and focus on what we can control. And what I know for sure is for the next 2 to 3 years, people and companies that do AI will be boomingly successful. And people that are slow to adapt to AI are not going to be overly successful. And in fact, their market share may be taken away by companies that embrace AI. And so with that, I really feel strongly that everybody should they should be spending several hours a day integrating with AI for their life, for their personal life, and for their business. And I believe that's the best advice I can give in this seminar is be curious, poke at it. Why did some students stop at a 50-word query and one student went to 300 with ChatGPT, and why did I go all the way to 5,000? Right? At the end of the day, push the envelope, be like a child. Kids are always asking why. And the other thing is if like I got 4 kids, right? So they're older now, but when they were young, if dad said no 7 or 8 times because the kids don't give up, then they go ask mom, right? They just don't give up. They just keep asking. Well, the thing is that if I asked, ChatGPT 7 or 8 times and it doesn't work, I'll go into Claude and I ask it 7 or 8 different ways, right? I just ask the other parent, okay? And then if that doesn't work, I'll go ask Uncle Grok. Let's see what Elon's tool has to say. But the bottom line is I don't give up. I'm pushy. I keep trying, I'm curious, and I just keep pushing the envelope, and everybody should too. That's my secret to AI. It's not about being a genius. It's just about poking at it and being curious. If everybody does that, then we're going to be successful. Somebody asked, what tools do you use for your workflows, AI agents, how to use AI properly to do good prompt engineering, and which one? Okay, so I use all the tools and I actually use them against each other. Remember, AI is becoming more human the more that it learns. Okay, think about that. It's really happening. Okay, the more that AI interacts with humans, the more human it's becoming. Okay, so what drives humanity is a big part of the what drives humanity is competitive nature. Okay, being competitive. So in the early days of prompt engineering, clever people would come up with clever prompts that would get results. Okay. Now clever people do a seed prompt to get started, and then they ask the large language model. They ask the LLM like Claude or ChatGPT to improve their prompt. Hey, here's my prompt. Here's what I'm trying to achieve with the prompt. Here's my end goal. How can you help me improve this prompt so I get to my end goal? So now the large language model actually rewrites your prompt for you, and it might even insert some code in there because sometimes code works great, right? Like there's different types of coding language that works within a prompt. So now what I do, and someone asked what AI agent. Well, now what I do is so let's say I did this in Claude let's say I did this in ChatGPT. Now I go into Claude. I say, hey Claude, uh, this is the prompt that I have. Here's my desired end result. And ChatGPT did this for me. Claude, I heard you're smarter and better than ChatGPT. Can you really dig deep and look at this prompt and find some opportunities to improve it and make it better? So now what happens is Claude tries to outdo ChatGPT and give you a better prompt, right? So now you can then take that into Gemini or take it into Grok and you ask it because essentially these LLMs are competitive. They're starting to have human traits and humans are competitive. And so they'll be competitive too. So now what you do is you start with a seed idea. You basically explain, hey, this is my first pass at the prompt. Here's my end result. This is what I want to get to. This is what I want the prompt to do for me. The other thing you can ask is say, hey, am I missing anything? Should I want more than my end result? Can you look at my industry or the circumstances or what I'm doing and let me know if you think I missed an opportunity. And then it'll come back and say, well, if your prompt did also these things, it would even be better. And so sometimes it actually helps you even discover stuff that you didn't even think of, stuff that benefits you that you didn't even know you needed. So I hope that answers that question pretty well.
There's another one there.
Suggest best CRM to use for not for profit. Okay, so basically, here's the thing. Okay, Salesforce's stock is doing pretty well, but I wouldn't invest in it, even though they're so good at SEO. What we've been doing now is essentially I've been doing a combination of something called vibe coding, which is this is where you ask the AI agents to do your coding for you. But vibe coding by itself isn't quite enough. I actually have one full-time employee, a different Mike. I've got like a few Mikes working for me, but his name's Mike Johnson. He's out of Ottawa. He's been with me for 7 years, and this guy's a genius coder. So what we do is we vibe code with the AI, and then Mike Johnson cleans up the code and we deploy it. And so what we're doing right now is we're building custom software for corporations, and we're able to build it sometimes in 4 to 6 weeks. And we're able to do it sometimes for under $100,000 or just a little over 100,000. And this is equating to, millions of dollars in custom software that they would have had to spend a few years ago. And it's very, very custom. So for example, for McNeish Steel in Edmonton, that's a company. They've got a little over 100 employees. They're doing about $50 million a year. We built an HR tool within their Azure, their Microsoft Azure backend, where an employee logs in with their code, with their employee code. And basically, they have all access to their entire benefits package, what the dates are, how much they have left, what the deductibles are. So, for example, if somebody knocked their tooth out at hockey, they could basically log in and say, hey, I knocked my tooth out last night at hockey. Now it goes through the Manulife package. This is a hourly employee. The salary employee have a different package. It's an hourly employee. It tells them exactly what the deductible is, how much dental they have, and when the year renews itself. So if the year renews itself in 6 weeks, it can say, you can suggest that your dentist break the billing out over two payments, one of them occurring after such and such a date, so that you can maximize this year and start next year's plan. And the AI figures all that out for you, and it'll tell you if somebody forgot to punch out. Basically, it does a whole protocol where it can look at their record and decide if it recommends that they accept the punch out time for the clocking in, clocking out. It just goes on and on. There's so many factors. If somebody gets hurt, the AI tool phones, texts, and emails the two owners. So essentially, their phone blows up. It starts ringing. There's a text and an email coming in on both owners, and all that happens automatic if anybody got hurt in the factory. And so now both owners are like, "Holy cow! I got to deal with this. We got to go and see what happened and what we can do to help." And that's all automated. Like literally, the AI phones the owner to say somebody was hurt in your factory. So so we built that tool. That particular tool cost them about $50,000. We built it in under 2 months, and it's an entire platform that does so many different things. And it's all custom on an employee by employee basis. And so that HR person now used to have to deal with all this by hand. They'd have to manually go through the book and look it all up, and then look up the person's date and get back to them. Right. So now all that time's free. So that HR person can now focus on more safety training and focus on other things, because these employees now, the entire HR platform is self-serve for these employees. It's fantastic. So anyway, to answer your question, what best CRM to use? I'd vibe code a custom CRM for your business, right? Learn how to vibe code and just build one, right? Instead of paying for a CRM. So that's my long answer. I'm 2 minutes over. Is there any more questions before we knock off?
I don't see any, but I do know that we want to send the Claude document for B4 Networks to them. They've requested if they could get a copy of that document, if possible. So if you want to shoot that over to myself or one of our staff members, we'll get it over to them. Thank you so much, Scott. This has really been an incredible hour of learning. I'm going to be honest, didn't understand all of the stuff that you talked about, but I get it. I get it. We're going to continue this AI conversation at our Niagara Networks happening at Brock University on May 6th. If folks haven't registered for that yet, there's still time. Just go to our website. All the information is there. Our next Lunch and Learn is going to take place on May 19th, and the topic's going to be why you don't suck at social media. I think is going to be another great conversation. You'll receive the session details in your What's Up Wednesday email, so look for that. Thanks everyone for joining us, and have yourselves a great afternoon. Take care, everyone.
Dolores, something quick here. As part of this seminar, I promised some free AI tools for the attendees. I just put my email in the chat, which is scott@geekcertified.com. If anybody wants the free tools, they can just email me. And the other thing is, I need about 10 minutes to complete the 5 sections for the IT company. So I'll just do that right now. I'll do that, and yeah, just the gentleman who's the owner of the IT company, just email me, and then I'll reply with those results
Wonderful.
for you. But I need about 10 minutes because I have to run 5 commands in order to get the Claude to complete that task. And then if anybody has any questions that they didn't want to ask in the chat, just email me and I'll be happy to help you. So thanks, Dolores, for hosting. Thanks everybody for attending. Have a great Tuesday.
Great. Thanks so much. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.